Hello and welcome to the True Crime Lounge. Today is Monday, October 4th, and you're probably wondering why I'm telling you the date. Because I do pre-record these videos and I set them to come out on certain days. Um, because I am in school full time, as most of you know, but I try to set time out, a day out just for true crime and everything. Uh, so that's why I'm telling you the date as it is. Now, so depending on when this gets released, it might be November, it might be October, but I'm just gonna say this: I love it. It's spooky season. I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. Anyway, today we're gonna be talking about on True Crime Lounge for True Crime Saturday. Some cannibalistic serial killers. I've been so excited on doing this one. I don't know why. I really don't. Um, but let's get started though. But before I get started, I do want to disclose some of these details can be a little bit graphic. So if you have a weak stomach, you probably want to skip the part where I go over what they did, or just skip this video in general. So I only say that because it's something you just gotta stomach or you can't stomach. Okay? But as the worst goes, be warned. Those are absolutely the most twisted cannibal serial killers that have ever walked on this earth. Hope you have an appetite for facts, not flesh. Facts. Alright. We all know that terrifying serial killers are concepts of killing, and they're concepts of killing. Well, some of us know some of the more well-known ones that once lived. How do we know there aren't some currently out there? Many of us look at a serial killer like average people who would have never believed they had corrupt minds. This basically goes to show that the average looking human can be the most brutal serial killer. Well, what's even worse is that some of the horrible serial killers out there are also cannibals. Now, this puts the cherry on top of the sundae. Because serial killers who are also cannibals easily the worst and most disgusting humans to ever walk this planet. Their tendencies just to feast on certain human body parts is beyond what we can comprehend. For some reason, if you're curious to check this out, some of the absolute insane, disgusting, morally wrong individuals who've not only went on killing sprees but ate pieces of their victim. These are the most terrifying cannibal serial killers that once lived on this planet. As us. The first one, most known, Albert Fish. If you don't know who Albert Fish is, you've probably been living under a rock. But his legal name, Hamilton Howard Albert Fish, was an American serial killer. However, he was also known as the Gray Man, the Werewolf of Wisteria, the Brooklyn Vampire, the Moon Mania, the Boogeyman. He was a child rapist, cannibal, and actually boasted that he had children in every state. Fish was a suspect in at least 5 murders in his lifetime, but only confessed to 3 that police were able to find trace known homicide. Fish was also confessed to stabbing at least 2 people. However, his biggest trial was the kidnapping and murder of Grace Budd. After kidnapping her, he strangled her to death, chopped off her head, and ate her body within just 9 days. In 1936, he was sent to the electric chair. Number 2 on our list, Joachim Kroll. Kroll is definitely one of the worst cannibal serial killers that ever lived. He was a German serial killer, child molester, cannibal. He was also known as the word cannibal, were Hunter, the Deesburg man-eater. He was convicted of 8 murders, yet only confessed to 14, yet confessed to a total of 14, when he was committed in around the time of the Ruhr metropolitan region. Kroll was certainly not the smartest serial killer around, with a fairly low IQ. He was found cannibalizing young children to be most satisfying meals he ever had. After murdering a 4-year-old girl, the neighbors were curious why a waste pipe was clogged. And then one neighbor asked Kroll if he knew what was stopping the pipes. He replied, guts. Pretty sure you can figure out what the pipes were clogged with. Next one we have Arthur Shawcross. So my friend Bethany was just in New York, and she went through the Genesee River. That was my one assignment for her when she was there. If she finds any places for Shawcross, please take a picture of it. That was my one request. But anyway, yes, I have a problem. Don't we all? He was known as the Genesee River Killer, and he was an American serial killer who was active in Rochester, New York. He first started murdering in 1972 when he killed a young boy and a young girl in the hometown Watertown, New York. He pled guilty to the charge of manslaughter and 12 years to a 25-year sentence. He started killing more victims in 88 and 89 after he was paroled early, which led to criticism of the justice system. As a deranged murderer, he killed a total of 14 people. He would be convicted of killing 10 prostitutes as well. Shawcross mutilated their bodies sensibly, and I'm pretty sure you know how the rest goes. And he was claimed that he first cannibalized during the Vietnam War. Okay, this one next one on our list. Jeffrey Dahmer. With Netflix coming out with this series and so much artists receiving backlash to songs that came out years ago. All I'm saying on that one, not trying to start an internet war, I promise. But easily one of the most twisted and infamous cannibal serial killers in history. Most of us know Dahmer for his inhuman ways. Known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, he was an American serial killer and sex offender who raped, murdered, and dismembered 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. Many of his acts included necrophilia, cannibalism, permanent preservation of body parts. He was also convicted and diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, a schizotypical personality disorder, and a psychotic disorder. He would usually lure young men to his apartment, drug them, strangling them, and having sex with corpses. He would dismember their bodies and sometimes eat them. If not, he stored more parts in the barrels in the freezers. When the police arrived at his apartment and they discovered dismembered body parts everywhere, skeleton furniture, new photos, deceased men, and tons of body parts in the fridge. After an immediate arrest and sent to prison, Dahmer was murdered by one of his prison mates. There you go. Number 5 on our list, Otis Toole. Never heard of this one. But American drifter and serial killer Otis Elwood Toole was convicted of 6 counts of murder. Accompanied by Henry Lee Lucas, the two twisted killers combined the confessions of 100 victims. It was pointed out that throughout Toole's killing spree, he enjoyed eating the ribs of his victims and drinking their blood. This was something that his partner disapproved of. While the two were together, it was stated that Lucas and Toole would take his victims and cook them as barbecue. Something tells me many people who found that out later were probably regretting that food. Number 6. Robert Mosley. From the terrifying Cannibal serial killers that once lived, British serial killer Robert John Mosley was responsible for murdering 4 people. He murdered 1 person outside of prison and 3 would end his time in prison. His main focus were pedophiles, and then one of them was his treatment he received from actual justice. He was once picked up by a pedophile himself, who showed him the rape and abuse that he had done to previous child victims. Then Mosley would strangle would-be attacker later nicknamed Blue from the color of his face. However, he was alleged for eating the brains of one of the 3 men he killed in prison. After this incident, he was nicknamed Hannibal the Cannibal from the British press. We know where it came from. Yay! I'm too excited about this. I promise y'all I'm not a cannibal. I promise. As much as I love, like, true crime and serial killers, I do think cannibalism is taking it way too far. Next one on our list. Tamara Sansanova. I'm hoping I pronounced this right, y'all. I'm terrible with names. Just a heads up. But she is a Russian-born serial killer that was arrested in 2015, here recently, and suspected of killing her lifelong friend, Valentina Olenova. And she was captured by a closed circuit in which she was transporting body parts in a plastic bag. Shortly afterward, the police discovered Olenova's body that had been left in the river to be decapitated. Later on, investigators realized that she would murder at least 11 people and possibly many more. And there is a possibility of eating some body parts. The most disturbing part of it all is that she recovered every single one of her murders. Recorded. That's right, she recorded every one of them. Yeah. Number 8. Peter Bryant, he's also on my list of religions of serial killers you can go and check out if you want to find out what some of these serial killers actually believed and all of that. It's up to you. You don't have to. But just something to go back and look at. But Peter Bryant, as far as the lesser-known cannibal murderer go, Peter Bryant was an English serial killer who committed a total of 3 murders from 1993 to 2004. He wasn't much of an evil person, but was clinically insane and suffered from schizophrenia. In 1993, Bryant killed a young shopkeeper, Nisha Sheaf, by beating her head to death with just a hammer. After his confession, Bryant was released and admitted to Broadmoor Hospital, in which Robert Mosley also stayed. And after several years under psychiatric care, Cook ate his friend Brian Sherry. That's right, he ate him. When one of the officers called Brian, he was frying Sherry's brain in a pan with butter. He later told the officer, "I ate his brain with butter. It was really nice." I still don't see how that's possible. Number 9, Ed Gein. We all know who this one is, right? Most of us do, anyway. He's known as the Butcher of Plainfield. Edward Theodore Gein is definitely among the most deranged cannibals serial killer ever. And I really want to say I have a video about this one. I can't remember offhand. But either that or I'm working on a video about him. Just a heads up. But he is an American murderer and a body snatcher. He was seen as shy, quiet, and lived on the farm. Yet he had some serious issues with his mother, and He inspired shows like the Chainsaw Massacre and the Bates Motel show. Yes, y'all, I'm not kidding you. Anyway, after issues that led to him killing, Ging was only convicted for one of them. He was also possessed trophies of females' vulva as he made decorations of their human flesh. He was also sent to a psychiatric institute where he died from cancer. Number 10 on our list. Andre Chikatilo. From the all-time insane cannibals in the world, Andre Chikatilo, a Soviet killer nicknamed for the Butcher of Rozov, the Red Ripper, the Rostov Ripper, he committed sexual assault, murder, and mutilation of at least 52 women and children from 1978 to 1990. As for one of the most brutal serial killers, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his name again, y'all, was named a serial killer who was actually driven by immense rage from a lifelong inability to perform sexual acts. He actually expressed his lust and sexual desires through rape, torture, and violence. He met 17-year-old Larissa. Alright, really? I'm terrible with names as it is. I can't pronounce other names, but I'm going to attempt to pronounce this one, guys. Don't butcher me in the comments. Play on words. I did not realize how that sounded until I said it out loud. But, Taken Jinko outside a public library in 1981. There, he strangled her and bit off one of her nipples and violated her corpse. He also dismembered several of her victims and often removed women's uteruses, nipples, and found fondness to chew on them. He was executed in 1994 by a gunshot in the back of the ear. Number 11. Leonarda Cian. Okay, really, Italy? I can't pronounce names as it is. Ciancolli? We'll go with that. She murdered 3 women in Italy from 1939 to 1940. She later turned the victims' bodies into soap and tea cakes, which she then served them to her friends herself. After her friends found this out, they were probably wondering what was wrong with her. She reportedly killed the women as sacrifices to protect her son during World War II. Okay. She confessed to her crimes and was found guilty of murder. She was sentenced to 30 years of prison and died while incarcerated. Number 12. John Liver Eating Johnson. Guess we know how he got his name. He's an American mountain man who was known to kill Native Americans and have eaten stolen flesh to survive the wilderness. The story goes that the Crow man identified his full home to kill his wife and served at the army at one point. Another Russian cannibal. I can pronounce the first name but not the last name, so please do not butcher me in the comments. Nikolai Humangalai. I really should have practiced these names before I was going to say them out loud. But he killed at least 9 people in the Soviet Union between 1979 and 1991, cannibalizing all of his victims. Previously declared schizophrenic, he was committed to a mental institution. In 1989, he escaped while being transferred to another facility where he was captured 2 years later and remains incarcerated. Number 14. We done talked about that one, actually. Oscar Dengiz is a Turkish murderer and cannibal who first killed computer engineer, really Turkey, Sedat Azrunlu in '07 after he offended him. 2 years later, he shot Abbas Anan after he killed Kafir Ednas, deciding to cannibalize Error. When he was eventually arrested, human meat was found in his refrigerator after he was found insane and committed in a psychiatric unit. Which one was that? 14. Number 15. Zhang Yongmin. Yongmin confessed to murdering 11 men in China between '08 and '12. Police discovered his crime. Several young men went missing after down on the street of Yongmin's home. Authorities found preserved eyeballs and human flesh drying whenever he investigated residence. He was found guilty of his crimes and executed in January 2013. Number 16. Surinder Kohli. In mid-2000s, Surinder Kohli and the man had worked for Manina Singh Panther and was believed to have murdered around 19 children and women back in India. Now, I bring this upon myself trying to pronounce these names that I know I can't pronounce. He engaged in kidnapping, rape, necrophilia, and cannibalism. They then found out the corpses of young children discovered their residence. Colt and Pena was found guilty of their crimes and given the death sentence in '09. However, prosecution of other crimes are still ongoing. Number 17, Alexander... I'm sorry, y'all. I'm going to pronounce this, and I'm going to say he or she or whatever their pronoun is on here, okay? Bushkov, who confessed to killing at least 6 people. Police were led to his home when they found a diary of multiple murders. During the investigation, he admitted to eating his victims. In 2013, he was found guilty and sentenced to prison. Number 18, Alfred Boone. He was an American prosecutor he was an American prospector who killed companions and ate their flesh in the late 1800s. He avoided justice for 9 years, but he was eventually found guilty and sentenced to 40 years in the early 1880s. He was paroled several years later and died in 1907. Carl Dink. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that last name wrong, but I do apologize. In 24, he was arrested after he was attacked by a man in his house with an axe. While on the scene, police found human flesh in a jar and 12 people whom Dink murdered and cannibalized. He hanged himself in a jail cell after his initial arrest. Boone Him. In the 1880s, Him was convicted as the Kentucky Cannibal throughout the American West while heading to California. Well, not 1880s, 1800. While heading to California in search for gold, Him killed people, and he would eat their flesh. He eventually was apprehended in Montana, where he was hanged for his crimes in 1864. I have no clue what number we're at now, guys. But, let's see. Durangel Vargas. He was arrested in Venezuela in 1999, homeless, and he confessed to killing and eating at least 10 men over the course of 24 months. When the authorities located him in the surrounding encampment, police found the focus of at least 6 victims. Hayden Clark. Hayden. Correct me on some of these names if I'm in the comments, guys. I do apologize. But I'm going to say Clark on this one. Clark was found guilty of murdering 2 women between 86 and 92, and then he claims to kill more. He's a paranoid schizo and he was found later to engage in cannibalism. He is currently serving multiple sentences in a Western Correctional Institution in Cumberland, Maryland. Issei Sagawa, a Japanese man residing in Paris. I remember this one. I was watching, I want to say it was Kendall Ray or, what's her name? She does the makeup. Oh my gosh, I feel so embarrassed now. I love her channel though and her podcast. But anyway, Sagawa was a Japanese man residing in Paris in order to cannibalize a woman in 81. His victim was a classmate at the Sorbonne, where he shot her, raped her corpse, and reportedly ate her flesh to absorb her energy. At trial, he was found legally insane and was eventually deported back to Japan, where he served time at the Masawara Hospital. While there, he was declared legally sane, so authorities had no ground on which to hold him. He is currently free, living in Tokyo, and has written a book about lectures about his life. Okay, what? How was he found legally sane? Okay. Alexander Pierce. He was arrested for theft in Ireland in 1819. He was transported to a few prisons in Tasmania, Australia, but escaped with a group of men, many who were known to kill for food along the way. He was eventually the last man standing, and multiple confessions before he was executed in 1824. Big Lurch. American rapper Antoine Big Lurch Singleton. So please no hate, but I have no clue who this guy is. He was convicted of murdering his roommate, Tanisha Yassius, in 2002, and he took PCP prior to her killing. He cut open her chest to multiple bite marks in her body. He was sentenced to life in prison and is currently serving time in California. Alright, that is it for today's episode. Was there any that shocked you? Like, what do you want me to talk about next? Was there any that I might have missed? Just let me know in the comments, and I will see y'all next time.